Right, coffee lovers, put down that espresso and grab something stronger because we're diving into the political equivalent of watching your two favorite children argue over who gets the bigger slice of cake, except the cake is taxpayer money and everyone's hangry. The leader of the train drivers union just told doctors they're not asking for enough money, and honestly, I haven't seen this much solidarity between different unions since, well, never. Picture this absolutely mental scenario. Mick Whelan, the man who represents people who drive trains for a living, has just become the unlikely champion of doctors' pay rights. It's like your plumber turning up to fix your boiler and casually mentioning that your accountant is massively underpaid. The audacity is so refreshing it's practically carbonated. But here's where it gets properly fascinating. Whelan's not just throwing around nice platitudes about professional solidarity over a pint and a packet of crisps. He's pointing out something that should make everyone's blood pressure spike higher than a train climbing the Scottish Highlands: his train drivers earn more than doctors. Let that sink in for a moment while you contemplate the cosmic justice of a world where the person who can save your life earns less than the person who makes sure your commute runs on time. Now, before anyone starts frothing at the mouth about train drivers not deserving their wages, let's pump the brakes on that particular outrage train. Whelan's actually making the opposite argument. He's saying his people should keep earning what they earn, but doctors should earn significantly more. It's like someone pointing out that both chocolate and vegetables are good for you, but maybe vegetables should be more expensive because they literally keep you alive. The numbers here are more eye-watering than accidentally getting shampoo in your eyes during a particularly vigorous hair wash. Train drivers pull in between £53,000 and £87,000, with the average sitting pretty at about 69 grand. Meanwhile, resident doctors, the people who've spent the better part of a decade training to literally hold your beating heart in their hands, are looking at an average of £54,300. It's like discovering that the person who serves you coffee earns more than the person who performs brain surgery, except it's not a hypothetical comparison designed to make you think about societal priorities, it's actual reality happening right now in 21st century Britain. Wes Streeting's response to all this has been about as diplomatic as a brick through a window. The health secretaries basically told the doctors they've squandered considerable goodwill with the government, which is the political equivalent of telling someone they've really disappointed you while they're asking for a pay rise. It's the kind of response that makes you wonder if he's been taking lessons in workplace management from particularly vindictive middle managers. The BMA is pushing for a 29% pay increase to achieve what they're calling pay restoration, which sounds about as reasonable as asking for your money back after inflation has been steadily eating your wages for over a decade. They reckon real terms pay has fallen by around 20% since 2008, which means doctors have been getting progressively poorer while everything else has been getting progressively more expensive. It's like watching someone's salary stay the same while their rent doubles, their food bills triple, and their student loan payments laugh maniacally in the background. The mathematics of it all is so depressing it could make a calculator weep. Streeting's written what can only be described as a strongly worded letter in The Guardian, because apparently public disputes between government ministers and medical professionals are now conducted through newspaper op-eds like some sort of civilized intellectual cage match. He's accused the BMA of unnecessary and unreasonable rush to strike action, which is the kind of phrase that makes you wonder if he's ever tried asking his boss for a pay rise and been told to wait another few years. The health secretary's offering to negotiate on conditions at work, career progression, and tangible measures which would put money in your members' pockets, which sounds suspiciously like offering someone a better desk chair when they've asked for an actual living wage. It's the workplace equivalent of being offered exposure instead of payment, except the exposure is to infectious diseases and the payment is still rubbish. Whelan's observation about the race to the bottom hits harder than an express train at full speed. He's pointing out that we've somehow created a society where some of the cleverest people in the country give their lives to either go into the health service or go to teach children and teenagers, and then we don't respect the skill sets they have. It's like discovering that Olympic athletes are working part-time jobs at McDonald's to make ends meet while people who invented cryptocurrency are buying small countries. The vocational crisis he's describing is real enough to keep anyone awake at night if they think about it too hard. When becoming a doctor means signing up for years of debt, exhausting working conditions, and pay that's less competitive than driving trains, you have to wonder why anyone with two brain cells to rub together would choose medicine over literally anything else. His suggestion that doctors would be far better off going into business is the kind of statement that should terrify anyone who's ever needed medical attention, which is basically everyone who's ever been born. It's like pointing out that all the best chefs are leaving restaurants to become food bloggers because the pay's better and the hours don't involve standing over hot stoves for 16 hours straight. The resident doctors themselves, formerly known as junior doctors until someone realized that calling qualified medical professionals a junior anything was about as dignified as calling brain surgeons trainee head fixers, are stuck in this bizarre negotiation where they're simultaneously essential workers and apparently not worth paying properly. Their statement that they do want this to have been their last strike has all the weariness of people who've been forced to withdraw their labor to get basic recognition of their worth. It's like having to go on hunger strike to convince people that food is actually quite important for survival. The 5 days of strikes they've just completed apparently affected fewer patients than previous walkouts, which sounds like good news until you realize it's because hospitals have gotten better at managing the chaos of not having enough doctors rather than because we've solved the underlying problem of not paying doctors enough to prevent them from striking in the first place. Hospital leaders noting that fewer resident doctors took to the picket lines this time could mean they're getting worn down by the whole process, or it could mean some of them have already jumped ship to better paid careers that don't involve explaining to politicians why medical professionals deserve to earn enough money to live comfortably. The fact that hospitals were ordered to press ahead with as much pre-planned care as possible during the walkout suggests someone in government finally realized that strikes work better as negotiating tactics when they actually inconvenience the people making the decisions, rather than just the patients who need medical care. Streeting's acknowledgement of a second dispute about lack of training places for doctors adds another layer to this particular cake of workplace misery. It's not just that we're not paying doctors enough, we're also not training enough of them, which is like complaining about staff shortages while simultaneously refusing to hire more staff. The Health Secretary's insistence that this dispute could have been avoided has all the helpful hindsight of someone pointing out that you could have avoided getting wet by not going out in the rain. It's technically true but not particularly useful when you're already soaked and standing in a puddle. His claim that he'd sat down in good faith to negotiate reads like someone who's genuinely confused about why offering someone a packet of biscuits instead of an actual meal didn't solve their hunger problem. The disconnect between what the government thinks is a reasonable offer and what doctors think they actually need to survive financially is wider than the gap between train carriages. The promise to negotiate on areas related to your conditions at work, career progression, and tangible measures which would put money in your members' pockets while simultaneously insisting the government cannot move on pay is the kind of logical pretzel that would make a philosophy professor reach for the wine. It's like saying you're willing to discuss everything except the one thing that would actually solve the problem. What makes this whole situation particularly delicious from a political spectating perspective is watching a train drivers' union leader become the voice of reason in a dispute between doctors and the government. It's like having your taxi driver give you relationship advice that's more insightful than anything you've heard from actual relationship counselors. Whelan's basic point that society has lost respect for vacations is the kind of observation that should make everyone stop and think about what we actually value versus what we say we value. We claim to respect doctors, teachers, and other essential workers, but our pay structures suggest we respect people who move money around more than people who save lives. The fact that train drivers can command better salaries than doctors isn't an argument for paying train drivers less, it's an argument for recognizing that if market forces can work for transport workers, they should probably work for medical professionals too. It's basic economics, except applied to people who prevent other people from dying. The upcoming publication of details about postponed appointments and procedures will probably provide more ammunition for both sides of this argument, depending on whether you think the inconvenience to patients justifies better pay for doctors or proves that doctors are being unreasonable by striking at all. But here's the thing that everyone seems to be dancing around: this isn't really about doctors being greedy or unreasonable. This is about a healthcare system that's slowly collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions, where we expect world-class medical care while paying medical professionals wages that would make them better off in almost any other profession. Mick Whelan's intervention is brilliant precisely because it cuts through all the political rhetoric and points out the obvious: if we want good doctors, we need to pay them like we actually value their skills. It's not rocket science, it's just basic human motivation applied to people who happen to have medical degrees. So here we are, coffee addicts, watching a train drivers' union leader make more sense about healthcare policy than the actual health secretary. The irony is so thick you could spread it on toast and serve it for breakfast. Will Wes Streeting realize that offering everything except actual money isn't going to solve a pay dispute? Will the BMA accept that the government's definition of good faith negotiation apparently doesn't include discussing the one thing they're actually striking about? Will more doctors decide that Mick Whelan's right and they'd be better off retraining as train drivers? Keep that coffee brewing strong, keep those notifications on for UK Daily Coffee, and prepare for more episodes in this ongoing soap opera where common sense occasionally breaks through from the most unexpected sources. Like this video if you think doctors deserve train driver money, subscribe if you reckon Mick Whelan should run for health secretary, and let me know in the comments what you'd do if your job required a decade of training but paid less than jobs that require a few months. This particular circus is far from over, and frankly, that's exactly the kind of political entertainment that keeps us all coming back for more. Until next time, this has been your daily dose of workplace drama with a side of common sense, served exactly how you like it.